Hey there, Pisces. Let's have a look at your new year, shall we? It starts on today, the 20th of March, 2026. The sun has just gone into the sign of Aries and it's moving right the way through until the next year starts. So from March the 20th to March the 20th, 2026 to 2027. This is the astrological new year. And so what I want to do is take you through the biggest themes are coming up for you in this year ahead, biggest opportunities. How is your focus changing? What's going on with all these new planets and new places? And what will life be like once the North Node moves out of your sign? So a lot of stuff happening. Now, I'm doing this using a whole sign model. What that means is I'm using the idea that Pisces is your first house, Aries is your second house, Taurus is your third house, and so on and so forth. If when you look at your birth chart, you see that you've got the symbol for Pisces and Aries in your first house, then whatever is in your first house is actually one of the forecasts you should listen to. So if you've got Aries and Pisces, also check out the Aries forecast too. Anyway, I want to start with the nodes because that's the thing that's going to really make the difference. And this is really quite important to you because the node is going to cross out of Pisces and into Aquarius later on this year on the 26th of July. And so let's just kind of recap. What have you been learning about since the North Node has been in your sign, in your first house? Well, it first went in there in early 2025 and it's been there ever since. Currently, it's around 8 degrees in your first house. And I think it's been teaching you about you, about putting yourself first, about taking the time to get to know you and recognizing what really is you and recognizing what really isn't you. I think anywhere where you've been holding ideas about what being you is, you've probably had to reevaluate them and redescribe them. So yeah, this could very well be a time when you've been thinking, oh my God, who the hell am I? I really don't know anymore. And you could really be forgiven for that, given that we've had a whole lot of stuff in Pisces recently. And you've also in this last year had both Neptune and Saturn in your first house as well. And, when you've got these slow moving planets, in particular Neptune, in your first house, it really can show you where you have to learn about yourself again. Pluto brings up the mystery of life and lots of opportunities, a lot of emotion, a lot of like desire to feel like that sense of being able to merge with infinity. Neptune really brings the spirit right there into your awareness, and yet it can feel overwhelming. And so a lot of people, when they have Neptune going through their first house, they have this overwhelm about their emotions and a real sort of overwhelm about, what is life about? Like life is so magical and full of purpose. And yet here I am needing to work Monday to Friday, or most likely Monday through Sunday all the time to be able to make my life work. It would have brought up some really big questions. And then, Saturn also going through there, and then the North Node. It just feels like your idea of yourself has just been bombarded. Now, in the next few months until we get to the 26th of July, the North Node is going to just be going through this last part. And it's a little bit like finishing school. You've been learning about yourself, but the nodes never are moving on their own. They're, like the South Node has also been going through your 7th house. And so in many respects, a lot of your learning has taken place by recognizing where other people are sorted. So where you've had the big questions, you might have noticed that other people haven't. Maybe you've learned more about yourself through the comparison, the juxtaposition between you and them. So I do think it's been a real sort of like balancing act, and that your biggest gains have really come from the knowledge that you've got from other people. Now, when the North Node goes into your 12th house, it's really opening you up for a much deeper dialogue. It's almost as if you've learned about, what sits in my identity, like who am I on the surface? Who am I in my body? And actually what's coming up now is what's it all about? What underpins this? As the North Node comes into the 12th house, a lot of the deeper, more subtle programs are going to arrive and come up. Self-sabotage programs and fear and anxiety programs are likely the ones you'll feel first. Not trying to scare you or upset you or anything. It's just, I always think that when a planet or a point goes into a sign, we often get the, the stereotypes of that sign come up first, right in your face. And so it could bring up a little feeling of delicacy as the North Node goes in there, because it can open us up to this sort of vulnerability. We realize we're just part of everything, but it also changes our understanding of nature and space. If you've really identified with yourself in a new way over these last few years, with the Neptune, the Saturn, and the North Node going through your first house, it's very much about, I'm a distinct person. But when the North Node goes into your 12th house, most likely the idea of the cosmic you is going to come into much greater force, where you might even, be questioning the deeper questions of the nature of reality, like what actually exists. Do I exist? It's really, really transcendent, really like mind-blowing. And you might have experienced this before when the North Node goes into the 12th house. It have happened 18, 19 years ago. But can you think about the level of development and life you've lived since the last time it went through there? So, you're kind of unpacking things a lot. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to lose the story. So just to step back a bit, the North Node in the first house helps you lose the story of who you think you are. Now from July, you're going to be learning to lose the story that you had about the nature of reality. So it's not about who am I, the person. It's like, who the hell am I and what the hell is this nature about? So there's some really, really deep questions coming in. In many ways, the North Node going through your first house has been the fluffer for this next act. And yeah, it's going to go deep. Now, it's a great time for you to move into intentional intuition, intentional psychic ability, intentional focus, inward focus. And you've also had Pluto also warming up this space here in your 12th house. Pluto in the 12th house is really, really profound. Really gets you, looking at the deeper context. So, whilst I think it'll be lighter for you as a person to not have the North Node or Saturn or Neptune or Mercury retrograde very recently in your first house, even though it's lightening what it is to be you, it's deepening what it is to be human. Does that make sense? And the South Node, it's been in the 7th house. It's going to go into the 6th. So whilst your idea about what the world is dissolving and maybe collapsing and changing and altering, interestingly, the South Node is going to keep it together in your 6th house. It's going to remind you of actually when you did manage to keep your story going. And so it's going to be an interesting kind of bridge between having one foot in conscious physical reality and having another foot in a dissolving world. So it could be quite uncomfortable, but it's a balance that you're coming into, and that we all go through at some point in a nodal cycle where we question reality and we have to live in the knowledge of the two different realities. In fact, I think it's much more than that, but we have to keep it working in real time whilst also being kind of out of time as well. It's very, very sort of very deep and profound. So that's definitely a theme in this next year. Now, if I go to Jupiter, Jupiter's been in your 5th house for ages. I mean, this is a really great place for him to be. It's in a place of children, conception, pregnancy. It's also in a place of intimacy and new partners or new partner. And it's also a place of activities that raise your passion. You know, like if you're really passionate about something, it sort of explodes, it gets so much bigger. And so Jupiter has really allowed you to feel into the things that you really want to see in your world. He's also exalted here as well, you know, so it would have been really quite fun. I think you have learned a little bit more about your passion, especially since summer last year, you know, and also when Neptune and Saturn kind of took a dip out of your first house. So yeah, like if you can remember what was going on for you in the summer, I think lots of things probably were changing and renovating and regenerating for you, and you could focus on what you're really passionate about. Well, later on this year, on the 29th of June, Jupiter's going to head into your 6th house, and anywhere where your life is expanded because of your passion and where your passion has led, it's going to lead to a much deeper opening in terms of, you know, what you've got to manage in your very real life. It's going to be interesting with Jupiter and the South Node in the 6th house. Even when your concept of the world is being really challenged, to me, this is showing, that there's a lot going on in your day-to-day life, but it's nothing you can't deal with. It really shows that goodwill and a feeling of optimism. I mean, Jupiter's your ruling planet, or one of your ruling planets. So Jupiter coming into your 6th house is going to be, I think, giving you a sense of luck and expansion and joy and opening in your real day world. Now that might bring with it some chaos, because the real world part of your chart, the 6th house, really quite likes routine. Sorry. Really likes routine and really likes helpful habits and things like that. And Jupiter can be a little bit of a party animal, you know, so you might overindulge a little bit here. But ultimately, you know, there's a feeling of well-being, even though there's a really strong inner being as well. So I see that Jupiter's going to help you. So he's moving from 17 Cancer right the way through to 27 Leo, and then he's going retrograde. I've put him in here as well at 4 degrees because mid to late July, he's going into an amazing connection with a lot of planets. So it's worth noting there. Now we've got Saturn and Neptune. Finally, they're in the 2nd house. To be fair, it's hard to announce where Saturn and Neptune are in a conjunction because a lot of people will, I mean, both of them can bring problems of a different kind of nature. You know, Neptune dissolves patterns and structures, and Saturn wants to build the patterns and structures. And so, you know, Neptune is very sort of spiritual and ideological and creative and beautiful and loving. And Saturn can, by comparison, be a little bit cold and a little bit judgmental and controlling, but he's also very discerning. And so, you know, where these two are moving is really showing where your spirit is taking shape. Now, the 2nd house, it doesn't matter where they go, there's always a kind of a potential downside. And in fact, even with Jupiter, who's a very sort of buoyant planet, there's downsides to him as well. So there's a downside, but there's also a real upside. So I want to talk about the upside of Saturn and Neptune. Like the 2nd house is about money, but it's also about how you feel about yourself, like your self-esteem. Now, with Saturn and Neptune here, this is, I think, encouraging you to see the spirit of you, your true value, what you're really bringing the world, and then allowing that to take shape, and maybe even earn money from what it is that you're being. You know, Neptune is really informing your self-esteem here. It's really saying, look, I already know I'm a spiritual being. I don't want to kind of know it in my real life, but then pretend it's not about spirit and who I am in my work life. I want something that really feels like it matches my vibration, my field of frequency. And so Saturn here is going to help you try to do that. My recommendation here is that you don't rush the process. These aren't fast moving planets, so there's no rush. I mean, obviously, you know, in terms of money, a lot of us do think, oh, there's a rush because, you know, our survival is important. But where can you safely explore your creativity, your soul, your intuition, your psychic connection, your connection to all that is? Where can you safely explore it in a way that's going to raise your vibration and raise your self-esteem? My question to you, or that question to you, is to sort of determine how you can lift yourself up. Because I think when you lift yourself up as a person, life will, all boats rise with the same tide. As you lift yourself up, the money, the support, the resources that might be owed to you or want to come into you magnetically, to me, I think they'll all work together. So I think it's really led by you. What are you about? What are you about at the core? And of course, the North Node going through here, and also Pluto going through here, that they've all had a part in defining that for you. So I think you know more about yourself than you've known in a really long time. So I wonder what you could do that could help you connect in to your purpose. Is it possible to see a purposeness coach? I don't know. But to me, it just feels like there's another purpose out there for you that you may or may not be exploring. And where you explore it deeper, I think life is helping to celebrate you and bring great stuff in. In the meantime, however, Saturn in the second is showing the need to watch your pennies and to be very sensible with your money as it comes in, not to spend. Interestingly, Neptune in the second loves to spend. So I wonder how you could do both. Is it possible that you could each month decide that you want to save a certain amount and then gift yourself a certain amount of money that you can spend on anything without any kind of controls at all? To me, it feels like you need to have two different strategies for your money, so that both planets feel like they're being honored somehow. Like if you go all save, it's going to kind of kill something in you. It's not going to feel good, even if you just allow yourself 1 cent or $1 or $100 or whatever currency it is that you use. Even if you just give yourself $10 or 10 euros, or I don't know, whatever it is, even if you just treat yourself a really tiny amount, can you treat yourself it so fully and so magnificently that you feel free? Because in feeling the freedom of money and also in feeling like you're still preparing in the real world, you'll be able to work with the money and the flow. Speaking of this, I really think this is opening you up to the opportunity of spiritual money, or a more metaphysical understanding of money. So I think learning about money and the energetics of it will be something that would really suit you right now. So you're using like law of attraction, and other metaphysical laws to really work with the vibration of receivership. To me, it's a huge opportunity for you. And whatever you're learning about and focusing on, I really think Saturn's going to reward you for. Saturn rewards effort. He's always rewarded effort in my experience. So Chiron is moving into the third house. He has been in your second house, probably bringing up some shame around money. But now he's coming into the third house. And at first, like if you've experienced bullying in the past and it's in your kind of in your auric field, if you're carrying those memories of being bullied, when Chiron comes into the third house, you might feel a little bit aware of that feeling again, because wherever Chiron goes, he brings up a little bit of a wounding or a little bit of vulnerability. And so anywhere where you felt vulnerable in groups, vulnerable in local groups, vulnerable in local school, in your family with your siblings, those kinds of vulnerabilities are likely to be reawakened. Does this mean you're going to have a full-on collapse? No, not at all. There's so many other factors that would need to come in. But to me, it just brings up that subject. And it's bringing it up with really good purpose. It's alerting you to the fact that, there's something about feeling like you don't belong that's coming up for you. And if you can allow it to breathe, if you can see it, if you can listen to it, if you can talk to it and reassure it, you might find that you have a much better experience within your local community. And I think that's what Chiron coming into Taurus is going to give you. Now, he's coming in on the 19th of June, and he's going to stay there for 3 months and then come out on the 18th of September and go back into Aries. However, midway through 2027, he'll be back in Taurus for quite some time. And so it's good to get a head start on it. One thing I really want to emphasize is when Chiron comes into Taurus, he doesn't want you to struggle with vulnerability anymore. He doesn't want you to feel raw and ripped open, not at all. He wants you to enjoy the subtleties of comfort in your body. He wants you to feel at ease in your local environment, at ease in the local community. So my suggestion here is, how can you get involved in nature? How can you get involved in the outdoors or natural food production, like growing or cooking, natural health and healing? To me, there's a tribe nearby. You know, there's a way to connect with really great people, and also to connect via nature, the natural route, the cycles. Maybe it's a moon group, who knows? But the community, keeping it natural, keeping it easy and comfortable, is going to be where most of the healing takes place. You might also find that if you're quite healed in this respect, that you're really helping other people deal with their own discomfort about being in a community or being in a group. So any of that bullying energy that you've had to heal for yourself, as Chiron comes into your third house, you've got this great opportunity to say, look, I've been here before and this is what I've learned and this is how we can work together. So it's not necessarily a guaranteed, oh, you have to heal here. It may be that you are the coach, you're the guide by the side that's going to be helping other people learn what you've already learned. Now, Uranus coming into the fourth can really activate things, that it's ready, steady, go. It's time to move. It's time to change the vibrational nature of your home and family. Is it time that things have broken up or down? Have you got children leaving, children arriving? Is there a new person coming into your life? Who knows? But you would have experienced some of this last year, some of the restlessness at home. It's really bringing in a fresh energy, Pisces. You know, where does new consciousness need to come into your home? Because Uranus, as he comes in, is bringing so many new thoughts, new disruption. But with that disruption comes a freshness, comes an innovation. I mean, maybe you're making your house absolutely technological, or maybe you're like completely ditching technology altogether. I don't know. I mean, Uranus has that sort of shock on off energy. So weird. As I said that, I just imagined all of my lights going off. We've had so many power cuts at home after the Portuguese storms this year. Thankfully it didn't. But to me, it just feels like there's a disruption at home and within the family. I mean, this isn't all going to be felt in one day. Uranus is going to be here for many years. And so it's not necessarily about a disruption in your life, but it's like whatever is smoothed and too settled, its feathers are going to get a bit ruffled. And it's not because anything's wrong. It's just you've got too settled. Uranus here is to help you settle where you're at the right vibrational frequency. And to me, what's really being implied here is maybe you've outgrown your home, or your family has outgrown the space that you're in. It's time to find something that matches your unique vibrational set point. So this could be a really exciting time. I mean, it might be that you're about to migrate and like really shake up your home and your roots and really go somewhere else. But it could be very, very exciting. So you are innovating the home experience and the house experience, innovating about what it means to have roots. Maybe you're going to be a nomad, or live 6 months of the year in 2 different places. But something unusual, fresh and new is coming in to excite and evolve and work with your home experience. Which brings me to Pluto, the last of these planets. You know, Pluto in the 12th house is really wanting us to find some measure of control. You know, somewhere in the madness of our unconscious mind, we're wanting to find somewhere that we absolutely know really exists. And it's really hard to find that. And sometimes Pluto in the 12th can bring up fears and anxieties and really strong things playing in our mind over and over and over. And it feels like we can't really control them. And I think what Pluto shows us is what we try to control, we absolutely lose control of. And so my advice here is, when a thought really takes control, I wonder if it's possible to like surrender to it, not try and control it, and say, okay, you know, I'm going to feel you completely right now. I'm going to really allow that thought to come in and see how it transforms me. You know, because most of our thoughts aren't actually going to destroy us completely. We think they will, we fear they will. But to me, there is a surrender that's taking place. And of course, the North Node coming through here is also going to touch us very deeply. So that's a little bit about the slower moving planets. In this year ahead, there are also 4 times I want to really mention. The first one is coming up actually within the next month. We've got the new moon in Aries in your 2nd house. Right now, it just looks like in this picture, there's just 2 planets. Midway through Aries, there's actually going to be, midway through April, it's actually going to be 7 planets here in the 2nd house. That's a lot. That's really unruly. You might need to put away some pennies so that you have some resources. You might find that resources get stuck or stopped or blocked, or that things are just being a little bit difficult. So make sure you've got your cards are all in date, that you've got cash, that you've got resources, get food in. Really watch your resources, and also play at feeling good in yourself. Anything that you can do to stimulate taking action about your self-esteem will be really, really good. You know, maybe there's an online course or something, maybe there's an online community or something that just feels like it's lifting you up. But it's important to stay buoyant and lifted up during this time. Now, in July, we've got Pluto at 4 degrees, Neptune at 4 degrees, Uranus at 4 degrees, and Jupiter at 4 degrees across these fire and air planets, fire and air signs. And they are creating this very dynamic, very symmetrical, almost like a little boat, going from your 12th house of the unconscious mind, where the story is dissolving, right through to your conscious mind, where the story is crystallizing. And it really feels like this year ahead is all about what part of me is dissolving, what part of me is emerging. How can I keep emerging and dissolving at the same time? How does that work? Uranus is really helping you at home, because like I mentioned, maybe there are 2 homes that are going to come in at the same time. And interestingly, with money and self-value, maybe you're going to be saving and spending at the same time. So in many respects, Pisces, this is all about regaining your balance and being able to hold that balanced state, even when you're really on and really off at the same time. Whatever is occurring, it's speeding up in July. And a few days later, the North Node changes signs and goes into the 12th house. So this time in July is huge. And it really feels like what you've already dedicated to, if you've already worked out, yeah, this feels really good. This is a real time to test it out and to get moving on things. It's very initiatory. And then in August, we've got a full moon. It's actually an eclipse. So it is a full moon eclipse in the sign of Pisces in your 1st house. I think it's at 4 degrees. So it's right at the start. And so that is likely to bring about I don't want to say permanent, because I don't like to say permanent, but it's going to bring out a big decision about yourself. I think it's going to be something like, I know where I'm meant to be now. Boom. And then it's like you've it's almost like you've blown out a candle on your Christmas on your birthday cake. You've made a wish, and all of a sudden it feels like that wish, it kind of vibrates out through time and space. It's felt at some level. So that full moon feels really, really critical. You could feel very overwhelmed at that time. But you know, I really recommend that you zero in on what lifts you up around that time. And then the next time will be almost a year from now, and it's around the 8th of March, right at the end of this period, in 2027, and there's a new moon in your 1st house. And to me, this is acknowledging the whole journey of this year ahead that you've been on, And it's really saying, man, I feel like I'm a different person. So from start to finish, from March the 20th, 2026 to March the 20th, 2027, I think as we're really coming to that next time, you'll have this real recognition of flipping heck. I know what it is to dance in reality and in the imaginary. I know what it is to develop myself in a way that feels like I can be commercial and also soulful. So to me, this is all about balance. This is one hell of a journey you're on, Pisces. It really is. Now, we're at the end of the reading. If you would like more on, a daily basis, I've got a free community. I'm losing my voice here. I've got a free community on the school platform. So if you go to www.school, that's skool.com/feel-good astrology. If you go there and join my community for free, there's like 10-15 minute forecasts Monday to Friday covering the whole week. I've also got fortnightly hangouts for the whole group. We've got loads of other things that take place. Recently, we had a lovely guest appearance from Carrie from Scorched Earth Tarot. She's amazing. So there's lots of stuff there. There's a feeling of community. It could help you feel back into that big question of who am I? If you would like me to look at your birth charts, just me and you, and really go deep into your actual birth patterns, then consider booking a session with me on Calendly. So my link is below. It allows you to see my diary and to book into a slot that works for you. So just invite me to work with you. And it's as simple as that, really, really painless. So that brings me to the end. I hope this has been helpful for you in navigating this year ahead. Some very, very strong patterns indeed, but wishing you a fabulous time of it and lots of love to you. Take care and catch you next time. Bye for now.